The Korean film begins with Hyun-soo noticing strange behaviors in her husband Soo-jin one night. One evening, while half asleep, he unconsciously tells her, "There's someone in the house." On another night, while sleeping, he unknowingly scratches his cheeks so much that it ends up bleeding. What's interesting is that despite Soo-jin being the one exhibiting these unsettling behaviors, he doesn't seem as panicked or concerned as Hyun-soo. This led me to suspect that there might be a twist or deeper explanation behind this contrast. After doing some research, Hyun-soo concludes that her husband must be suffering from a stress-related sleep disorder. This is intriguing because up until that point, her husband hadn't been portrayed as a particularly stressed or worried man. Later, she witnesses him getting out of bed unconsciously and eating raw meat, eggs, and fish straight from the fridge. Immediately after, he attempts to throw himself out the window, but Hyun-soo manages to stop him just in time. At that point, I realize that it is actually Hyun-soo who is suffering from a sleep disorder. She is a stressed and worried woman, and she is the one staying awake at night. It seemed likely that she was either hallucinating or subconsciously exaggerating what she was seeing. Later, they visit a doctor who suggests that Soo-jin might have REM sleep behavior disorder. He advises them to make their home as safe as possible to prevent potential injuries caused by sleepwalking. He also recommends improving their sleep and lifestyle habits, and as a final step, using medication. In that case, she must have been the one making all the noise for the past week, which is why her neighbor complained. Some might argue that it could be because they were having noisy sex for a week, but that doesn't explain why Hyun-soo only thinks about the last night and not the previous days. Why doesn't she question why her neighbor is accusing her of making noise for a week instead of just the last night? Additionally, the neighbor's son later confirms the noise that had been happening for the past week. Hyun-soo is a self-aware, caring woman who can admit her mistakes, and I don't think she would deny what she was doing or avoid apologizing. After realizing the medication isn't working, her husband sleeps in the car temporarily to protect both themselves and the baby. Since there are no witnesses to his nighttime behavior other than Hyun-soo, he isn't in a position to deny anything either. Later, when Hyun-soo visits her downstairs neighbor, she notices noise coming from the apartment above her own. Interestingly, her neighbor doesn't acknowledge hearing it either, which suggests that Soo-jin had been hearing non-existent sounds at that moment. This is confirmed later when we realize that Hyun-soo was the one actually making all the noise, while Soo-jin and the neighbor's son were looking up and hearing the sounds from within the apartment. She then admits that she had been watching her husband every night after seeking help from a shaman. Things spiral out of control, and Hyun-soo ties her husband up to confront the soul she believes has infiltrated his body. The events lead Soo-jin to admit, "Stop doing this, I'm going crazy too." The rest of the story unfolds, ending with the revelation that Hyun-soo had been mentally suffering all along, with her condition gradually worsening as the story progressed. What I really enjoyed about the film is that it doesn't follow the typical mystery movie formula, which relies on a twist at the end that often comes out of nowhere and renders the earlier scenes insignificant. But in Sleep we get a mystery, a thrilling build-up, rising stakes, and a slow revelation of the twist that perfectly makes sense while keeping the significance of the earlier scenes intact. And considering the film's low budget and original premise, the execution was spot on and incredibly satisfying for me.